Do this shit until they murder me.
What's going on YouTube? I thought I'd do a video today on show you just how much it costs to KSwap the car the MR2 that I have. Just can't be used. It can be used as a bench for you guys if you want to try and KSwap an MR2. And keep in mind, I don't have a lot of hookups. I don't have any hookups actually on parts. I buy all this stuff myself. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. Nowhere near. So yeah, let's take a look at what my spreadsheet says. So, sorry, my table's a little packed with fuel system stuff. So, I have a spreadsheet that I've been keeping since I've owned the car. Vendor, I have, separated by vendor, part description, my price, when I bought it, and if I sold it, and if it's unused, and if it broke. So, I want to keep track of all that stuff. So, I'll just go straight to the point. Show you guys the very bottom here. So, there is the project total, with no discounts or sold parts. So discounts or sold parts means like I sold. That's annoying. Okay. If I sold the parts and I got something for it, like as you can see there, my Davies Craig water pump kit was $320. It was supposed to be that much, but since I bought that with money that I from a part that I sold, I counted as a zero, even though I put the actual there as well. So the total there is 13 grand. After this doesn't actually include stuff that I sold from the 3S GTE portion. So it's 11.7 right now, and that includes the new fuel system that I've got for the car. So, but this will actually be, if I were to include the parts that I sold for my 3S setup, this would be about $4,000 cheaper. So roughly looking at like $7,500. So I've owned this car for 10 years now, and I got it as a almost bare frame. There was nothing on it, no suspension, no interior. Taillights were like the 91 taillights. Let's see, the bumper was all messed up. Like there was a lot of stuff. There was no motor, there was no suspension, no brakes, no nothing. I had to swap all of that over from a previous car that I owned, and that I got into an accident. Got rid of all that stuff. Got rid of the car, but I kept the suspension, the brakes. The motor, I swapped in the motor. It was a 93.5 SFE. Let's see what else here. Eventually, over time, the car just kind of took shape. As soon as the car was, I started thinking about turboing the car. I decided to do some suspension upgrades. It has all polyurethane bushings, as you would expect from any MR2 now. 93 turbo brakes in the front, so they're twin piston. Stop tech rotors in the front. Regular, whatever they are in the rear. Hawk pads in the rear, Porterfields in the front, TNS Tech springs in the front because they're a little lower than my iBox Pro kits were. I was running iBox all around, no longer, just because it's a 1-inch drop. It's not an aggressive drop, and I kept the ones in the rear iBox Pro kit because, I don't know if you can tell, it is such a, see that gap? It was a lot lower when I had the 3S GTE set up in there. This you could barely fit maybe one finger, like barely, when I had the 3S GTE in there. Now that the K is there, it's a lot lighter. It actually raised the rear of the car, so I don't have to worry about it squatting under power and rubbing on the wheel. Even though I have them pulled and rolled. So all in all, like I said, if I were to factor in the 3S GTE stuff, it'd be a lot cheaper. About $7,500 is what I'm gathering, since I sold turbo setup, some of the motor, like the forged pistons, rods, all that stuff. Got a pretty good price for it. I didn't get my money back by any means, but just to give you guys an idea, I know there's a few videos out there with people like, I know Boosted Boys, Kyle put out a video about a year ago about how much it costs to KSwap his MR2, although his is, he's got a lot of help. I envy the guy. Him and Brent are good friends. I wish I had a buddy like that who could hook me up, but I've done all of this myself. Everything on the car I have done myself. Everything but the welding is all me. I've had a couple friends here and there, help, but taking the motor out, putting it back in, blah 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 blah, all that other stuff, all me. So let me go through some of this stuff here. There's a lot on here, like the vendors, they vary. Of course, there's some eBay stuff on there, a lot of eBay stuff on there, but they're, reputable vendors. Hooks Racing, the Cannibal Kit. I actually have this from most expensive to least expensive. So as you can see, the most expensive price, as you can tell, that's the Cannibal kit right there. And then the next up is the Honda, the turbo elements manifold, the motor, and yeah, just kind of goes on and on from there. So I'll probably follow up. I'll make a second part to this video tomorrow. Right now, I just wanted to introduce you guys to, I guess my budget for the car, which was initially $10,000, but I went over a little bit just because I'm a little picky. I didn't want to stick with the manifold that I got for it initially. I didn't want to stick with the stock manifold, stock intake manifold, fuel pumps going out, parts going bad, or I just want to swap parts, like the turbo, prime example, switch to a smaller turbo. But I sold that, so I mean, clearly not for profit. I lost about $80 on the sale, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. There's a lot that goes into swapping an MR2, but I did this my way. You can use all factory parts, and it would be a lot cheaper. The reason why mine was so expensive is because I decided to get like K2 necks like that. The intake manifold clearly wasn't needed for my power level. Let's see what else. The water plate and the electric water pump. That was just me wanting a cleaner setup. You don't need that stuff. So you can tell right there. Water pump setup, my custom alternator, all that stuff is custom. All that stuff you don't need any of that to do it. So, I mean, I'll go over that in detail tomorrow if you want. Not if you want, but at a later date. But yeah, this doesn't have to break the bank, guys. So I'll follow up tomorrow and make this video a little longer. See ya. Hey guys, just following up on the second part of the video that I had about the cost of the KSwap. I wanted to go over a couple other things that I've been doing to the car. So let's get to it. So last time I told you guys that on the last episode, I guess you could call it, that I had thinking about doing this fuel cell in front. So I took out the air to water box that the ice box that I've been using. It's a little 2.5 gallon. It doesn't need to be too big for air to water. I got rid of this. I told you guys that you had to like drill those out. So I drilled out those spot welds and then I welded those in because I don't like holes in it. So, and then I painted over, of course. So I got rid of all that. The battery is going to be relocated to this area over here. And then I also learned, sadly, that this fuel cell is too big to fit in the area that I have it. So a lot of guys that run the 10-gallon fuel cell in front, they don't have power steering and they have manual racks. So they don't have any of this here. They don't have the reservoir. They don't have the pump. They don't have those lines down there. They just have a rack that goes across. And they don't have the ECU. They don't have any of that. So they have all this space. And meanwhile, I do not. So that is one of the creature comforts that I want to keep. I don't have many. I have a stereo, power locks, power windows, and power steering. That's it. I don't have anything else, and I really don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to drop that down to just power windows and freaking stereo. So I ordered up an 8-gallon fuel cell instead, since I measured, actually using my Borg Warner box. Hey, baby girl. It's Phoenix. It fits. I actually measured it in here. It actually sits a little lower than I thought. So upon measuring, it's going to sit about right here, about 3 inches below deck. So actually lets me use the fittings a lot better. I don't have to compromise and use some kind of crazy angled fittings. Just 90-degree, 180 fittings will fit fine. So let's follow up on the stuff that I said in the earlier video. The car, I don't think I mentioned how much I got the car for when it was a bare frame, basically. It was $400, and I got it from a buddy of mine who just gave up on it after he bought another MR2. So I can put up, if people request, that people actually care about it, I can actually put up how much I spent on every item that I ever bought for this car. And whether it broke or I sold it or all that stuff, I can put it up if people actually want to look it up. Doing an NA car and an NA KSwap and an MR2 doesn't have to break the bank. Neither does a turbo. But like I said, I'm very picky. I switch things up all the time. I buy parts and I put it on the car, and then it's not as clean as I thought. It doesn't work like I thought, or it just doesn't look like I envisioned it. It may look and work correctly, but I'm like, nah, I want something very, very clean, and that's what I was shooting for in the engine bay. While the car doesn't reflect that because I haven't I haven't painted it in like 10 years, just because I haven't gotten around to it. Every time I have the money for it, or I kind of get the inkling for it, I'm like, let's just go get a Mako. Nah, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. I mean, I'd like to think that my work on the motor reflects that, so I'm not going to cheap out on the paint job either. So every time I get the money to do something like that, I kind of like go, oh, well, I can do something else with the car. I'm pretty sure, you know, everybody, not everybody, but there's some people out there like that. But me, it's performance first and looks second. I could give I could care less if the car looks like crap, as long as it performs well, as long as it's reliable and it makes good power and it stops on a dime. Can't forget the brakes. I see a lot of people upgrading their motors and their suspension, and they're leaving the brakes alone. Big no-no, guys. I mean, how are you going to stop all that power? You need to be able to stop. So just because you got some slotted rotors doesn't mean you're going to stop quicker. That actually makes your car stop a little slower, because Physics 101, it has less mass. You drill the holes in there, it has less mass, less contact patch with the pad. So to continue, here's the fuel. Like I said, so I'm getting rid of this fuel cell. I'm trying to sell it now. If anybody wants this, and it's up for sale. I don't know, 80, 85 bucks. I paid like 86 for it. Let's see, it comes with the anti-slosh stuff too inside it, and it comes with the fuel center. Blah, blah, you know what I mean. These are all over eBay. I got a 10 AN lines, 8 AN lines for the feed. The 10 AN is going to come straight off of the tank. Fittings galore, battery location, all that stuff. I actually picked up an old bed frame. See if I can show you guys here. And I cut off like all the tabs off of this. It's a good angle iron. I'm going to be making the frame for the tank out of that. So that shouldn't be too hard. That's actually, I'm looking forward to that, but I'm not at that step yet, since I actually am going with an 8-gallon fuel cell. Yeah, that's gonna, I know 8-gallon is small, it's tiny. It's not like I'm gonna be going out of state with this, guys. So, I mean, I don't think anybody really is. So I think it'll be fine. 8 gallons, realistically 7.5 to 7. I'd like to keep it around the 2-gallon level when it's running low. So I got about 6 gallons to play with. I don't really drive the car all that much anyway, so I think I'll be okay. For those of you that have an MR2 and are doing the fuel cell and you have a manual rack, I envy you. It's not that it's harder to do. For me, it's easy, but all that space up front lends you and grants you the ability to get a 10-gallon fuel cell up there. Granted, it's still even smaller than the stock tank, which is 12 and a half-ish, I think, but it's still better than 8. So, yeah, to continue, let me just look at the motor here. I mentioned before that none of the stuff that I have on here, none of the shiny bits are really needed. The stock exhaust manifold that comes with these motors, you can adapt to just make your own custom exhaust. I know there's a couple of guys out there that have already done it and then done it on the cheap, and the car runs perfect. Aside from a tune, of course. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I actually got on the motor now carried over from the 3S, like my coolant overflow, the filter that was on the turbo, a lot of the vacuum, all the vacuum lines, all the hoses, even like my my coolant hoses. I don't know if I can see. No, you can't really see because the pump. Let me get a shot of the pump. Right there. That's the electric water pump. And that is rat's nest, but no, not really. Yeah. Let's see if I can get it on this. The radiator. There we go. The radiator hoses. So these radiator hoses, as you can see, I kind of coupled it there. I used a piece of like steel sleeve. You can use your stock line. That was a stock, or I guess factory line, that I modified to fit on the car. Especially if you have a K24 and you have the outlet here. If you have a K20, the outlet's over here. They're a little different, but they're easy to get to work on the MR2. The interior doesn't actually have a lot done to it, so I saved money by already having a pretty clean interior. I'll get seats eventually because, you know, notorious driver's seat rip. But shifter, I mean, there's not much done to it. The steering wheel I got for like 50 bucks off of the forums a long time ago. The stereo, like I said, is the only creature comfort in here besides the power steering and the door locks. And then again, they're a little slow since they're so old, but it's like I said before, it doesn't have to break the bank, guys. It doesn't have to be a really expensive project like mine. Mine was actually stalled a lot because of custom parts. So the manifold, a lot of the stuff like the wiring service from Hux, he does a great job. It took a little longer because I ordered it over the holidays. It was like a long wait period there, but I can't fault him for that. It is during the holidays. Nobody wants to work during the holidays, least of all me. So let's see, what else can I actually mention about it. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I don't have any hookups. I do have a lot of my friends work on cars, and I have a buddy who has a shop, but I don't go there to work on my car. All this is done in this little one car garage that I've had to build upwards, and I'm still building more. And I've had to install these lights. Well, I love these lights, by the way. Amazon, they're like $40 for these LEDs. That's it. I mean, I got all my like tools back here. Let's see what I got. My drill press, my chop saw, my saws. Jesus. It's a mess back here. Parts, and then I got a shed in the backyard full of parts that who knows, maybe one day I won't need. But so far, a lot of locals have been needing all the parts that I have to offer. And if you're local to Vegas, I most of the time just give away the parts, or I just say bring some beer, or bring some food over or something like that, because I really don't like charging the guys, especially for parts that I'm hoarding. Parts that I know that other people sell for a lot more, and I'm not looking to gouge the community. So, Phoenix, what are you going to do? Anyways, so yeah, it doesn't have to cost that much, guys. An NA swap probably costs you about $4,000. If you do full KSwap, $4,000. Cannibal kit, more expensive, since the cannibal kit itself is like $1,600. Then you got to do the whole turbo transmission, turbo axles, turbo hubs, blah blah blah. And if you go that route and you have an NA, you actually have to have the turbo hubs. And if you don't have the turbo hubs, the V6 Camry ones fit. Do not use an aftermarket hub. It will break. You need to go with an OEM hub. Remember that. So, oh yeah, I actually forgot to mention this last time. Or maybe I did. I am going with a custom Hall Effect speed sensor, a Cherry Hall Effect speed sensor for my speed, since none of the factory stuff is working. And I have tried to get it to work many times, and I'm sick of it. So this is, I mean, I've been thinking about doing something right along the lines of like, maybe I can get it to read off of those studs right there, off of the axle. Maybe I can mount it somewhere in there. This is for wheel studs. I mean, I know that, but those are also pretty, they're spaced apart almost as evenly as the wheel studs are. But who knows? We'll see what I go with there. I don't have much else to do. I think aside from the fuel system and reworking the fuel cell or the ice box so that it sits in the trunk, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to be removing the stock tank. That's going to be gone. Pump. I'm going to try to get the pump up here somewhere under the cap. Like when it's mounted to that firewall there inside the cabin, the noise is just ridiculous. I know it's nothing like a Magna Fuel, but it is loud. I'm sure you guys have heard on the previous videos where I had it just turned on to the key on position, and it's pretty crazy. My girlfriend hates it. I hate it too. But let's see what else I got going on here, guys. Not much else. I think I'll probably go tomorrow to my buddy's shop and film some of the cars he's got there. He's working on a few MR2s. He's always got MR2s in the shop. I mean, everybody in the MR2 community here in Vegas goes to him. And I'll link his Facebook page and his stuff. His information there at the bottom, so you can check him out. B-Tech Performance. Shout out. So yeah, until I get some work done on the car, or I'm going to start it, I'm gonna check out. So see you guys later. Peace.